wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of the Piledriver Weekly. My name is Electric Eric Davidson, and this is my co-host, Mr. Ace Larson. And as usual, we're going to get things started off with OVW. Okay, OVW this week. The show starts off with Jay Bradley coming out to the ring, talks about wanting a title shot, working his way up to the top contendership, talks about beating Ryan Howe last week. Ryan Howe was the number 3 contender, so now he's calling out the number 2 contender, who happens to be the television title holder, Randy Royal. Randy comes out and says he's already got a match with Sam Shaw, and his sidekick, kind of friend, not friend, who knows anymore, but Tony Gunn says Shaw would probably agree to wait until next week so Randy can face Bradley. And then, so the match gets started. Randy takes the early advantage here, but during the match, Gilbert Corsi, the commentator, is saying he's got an exclusive interview tonight with a TNA star who has a major announcement. Randy is getting ready to use a chain, but then Tony Gunn grabs it from him. Bradley hits the broomstick, gets the win. He gets on the mic afterwards and says, "That's number 2, that means there's only one left, and that's number 1. And then out comes Rob Terry, who happens to be the number 1 contender, and Bradley just walks away. Terry gets on the mic, talks about Jamin beating Doug Williams and how he respects him for that, but he's bigger and stronger, and he's going to be the next OVW champion. Out comes Jamin and gets in Terry's face. They kind of have a stare down there. Then we have a ladies match. Our good friend Jessie Bell versus Lady Tappa in her OVW TV debut. Now, she is the niece, I believe, of the Barbarian. You remember the Barbarian and the Warlord?
Yep.
Powers of Pain? Yeah, she's his niece, I believe. And a valiant effort by Jessie here, but Lady Tap is just too powerful for her. She gets the win. Then we see Eddie Diamond backstage, rubbing Epiphany's shoulders and sweet-talking her. And Lady Tappa walks by, and Eddie's kind of checking her out, so he's kind of got the roving eye there. And then we get Gilbert's big interview, and his special TNA superstar is Joseph Park. He comes out and he says he's a wrestler today because of Danny Davis and OVW. And he announces the Impact event coming up in Louisville in July at Broadbent Arena, which we already have our tickets for. Then out comes Wayne and Crimson of the Coalition, and they say, they want to talk to Joseph Park, and Park says it's nice to meet them, and they're trying to play nice here, pretend like they're the good guys to Joseph Park. And he says he has nothing but respect for the armed forces, and then Wayne starts telling them all kinds of lies about them being fighting champs and how the fans love them, but the fans hate Michael Hayes and Ali Baez, and nothing could be further from the truth here. He proceeds to tell Park tons of lies, and they ask Joseph Park to help them get their match at Saturday Night Special canceled, because he's playing the lawyer role and all that, but he says he likes them and he'll see what he can do. Then we have a match between Fabiano making his OVW return and Rockstar Spud. Not a bad match. Spud gets the win here. Then we see Taylor Hendricks backstage with Heidi, begging her to come out to the ring with her for her match with Trina. And that's next. We got Taylor Hendricks versus Trina in a non-title match here. Taylor gets the win after ramming Trina into the post, then using the ropes for leverage to get the pin. Then we see Jason Wayne and Crimson backstage showing Park their lair, but they're claiming that it's Ali Baez and Michael Hayes' lair. Then we get Jay Best of the Entourage versus Sam Shaw. Shaw picks up a quick victory here. Not much of a match. Dean tells Shaw to go talk to Joseph Park and all that. Then out comes a masked man who I believe is the Assassin. I believe that's the name he uses. They're not saying yet, though. He comes out. It's kind of funny. He's in a mask, but he's wearing like a business suit. And he clotheslines one of the VIP members and then just leaves. Then, once again, Jason Wayne and Crimson are out to the ring. They recite the pledge of the coalition. Crimson calls out Hayes and Baez, and out they come. They say Park has something to tell them, and out comes Park. Park says after the stuff he's seen tonight, he's really disappointed in Michael Hayes and Muhammad Ali Baez, and that disappointment is the fact that they haven't kicked the coalition's butts already. Then he turns to the coalition and asks if they really think he's that stupid. He says he watches OVW every week, and then says they will defend their belts at Saturday Night Special, and it will be no DQ. Then they attack Joseph Park. Out comes the rest of the coalition. Then the OVW guys come out. Ryan Howe, Rudy Switchblade, Rockstar Spud, and Sam Shaw come out and make the save. And they clear the ring. And then Park gets on the mic again and says that one more thing about Saturday Night Special, the remaining coalition members that are not in the match will be handcuffed to these four guys right here. So that's kind of an interesting stipulation there. But that's OVW's show for this week. Don't forget, they do their TV tapings every Wednesday at the Davis Arena, 4400 Shepherdsville Road. Cheap night out, only like $5 to get in. If you can't make it out to the matches, watch them on WBNA 21 Saturdays at noon. And don't forget the Saturday Night Special coming up on July 6th. That should be a good one. And then next we are going to be moving on to Ring of Honor.
Ring of Honor.
Okay, Ring of Honor this week from Richmond, Virginia. The show opens with Steve Corino doing a pretty humorous rundown of the events that are coming up for tonight. We see a conclusion of a match from a different event. I think they're just kind of trying to build momentum up here, but it's the conclusion of a match between CNC Wrestle Factory, Caprice Coleman and Cedric Alexander, defeating Red Dragon in a non-title situation. Then we get promos for Best in the World coming up. Then some more stuff by Steve Corino. Then we get a match between Kevin Steen and Jimmy Jacobs. Jacobs gets DQ'd for choking Steen with a chain. But then Steen challenges Jacobs to get back in the ring, and they restart the match, this time under no DQ rules. A pretty decent match here. Jacobs brings a section of railing into the ring, and Ring of Honor, they always put that like metal template with the Ring of Honor logo across the railing.
Yeah.
And when he brought it in the ring, I'm thinking, man, that's really dangerous because the feet of the railing are, sticking up, and they're made of metal. Yeah. And like, if you slam somebody the wrong way, they can impale them. Yeah. But anyhow, he lays the railing in the ring there, but it ends up being Steen who uses it to his advantage. He gets the package pile driver on Jacobs on the railing and gets, it was pretty cool. Put a big dent in the little tin sheet there, but yeah, he gets the 1, 2, 3 on Jacobs. Then the main event match of the night for the world title, Jay Briscoe defending against B.J. Whitmer. Really, really good match.
Both good in-ring work.
Yeah, and it started out a little slow, but I think they do that on purpose a lot of times, kind of try and build up the storytelling in the ring. They do the handshake, to start the match off, and off we go. Mark Briscoe is on commentary, and he's not really partial to his brother here.
He shouldn't be.
Yeah. Yeah, just an awesome match. A really gutsy performance by B.J. Whitmer here.
I've always liked B.J.
Yeah,
Whitmer.
I like him too.
Really underrated guy.
Yeah, he really is. And he's been around. He's probably a 13-year vet.
Yeah.
Yeah, real gutsy performance by Whitmer here. You could tell he really wanted it bad. Kicked out of the J driver twice. But
impressive.
yeah, Briscoe finally, and I can't forget to mention this part. Briscoe flipped him out of the ring, and he landed head first onto a table and went right through it. I thought he was legit hurt. He might have been, but he continued the match and finished the match. Jay finally gets him with the Dragon Sleeper, but Whitmer still didn't tap. He passed out. So yeah, real good match, real gutsy performance by Whitmer. Then we get some promos for Best in the World, and that's really pretty much the show. But I'm going to run down the card for this weekend's pay-per-view, Best in the World, real quick here. And if you've never seen a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, I highly recommend it. They only do them online, and sometimes they do run into some technical issues. But all in all, well worth the price. It's only like $15, and it seems like they're trying to get the bugs worked out. Only had a couple small instances on the last couple ones, nothing major. But anyway, we're going to run down the card here, and it's a good one. The main event of the night will be Jay Briscoe defending the world title against his brother Mark Briscoe. That should be interesting.
First time ever, right?
As far as I know. Then the world tag titles will be on the line in a three-way match. The champions Red Dragon, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly defending against Scum members Rhett Titus and Cliff Compton versus Caprice Coleman and Cedric Alexander.
That should be good.
It should be real good. And I don't know. It's a tough call. It's kind of hard to predict that one.
Fish and O'Reilly have been pretty good.
They've been on a roll. I have a feeling they're going to drop the belts here. I'm not sure to which team, because they're trying to kind of put Scum over. They're kind of that invincible faction right now. But they've also really built Coleman and Alexander up a lot too, and they've put their time in and paid their dues.
Yeah.
So I believe either one of those two teams could take the belts here.
Could be match of the night, honestly.
It really could be.
Yeah.
Then, what should be another good one, World TV title, three-way match. Matt Taven defending against Jimmy Jacobs and Jay Lethal.
Yes.
Anytime you got Jay Lethal involved, it's usually a good match. Then a grudge match. Mr. Wrestling himself, Kevin Steen versus Matt Hardy.
That should be good too.
Yeah, it should be a good one.
Then talking about Ring of Honor pay-per-views just excites you.
Yeah, I get excited just thinking about these matchups.
Only $15.
Yeah. And here's another one that could be the match of the night. Roderick Strong versus Adam Cole.
Hell yeah.
Should be real good. Both those guys can go. And then a special challenge match. Unbreakable Michael Elgin versus the Sicilian psychopath Tommaso Ciampa. Should be another really good one.
God, I'm so pumped for this.
And once again, it just keeps
getting better and better and better.
The American Wolves, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards versus Adrenaline Rush, ACH and Tadarius Thomas. Should be fantastic.
Man.
Then we got another grudge match, B.J. Whitmer versus the prodigy Mike Bennett with Maria Kanellis.
Should be good too.
Should be good, even if it's just for the fact of seeing Maria come out in her little short shorts.
It's always good.
But yeah, an amazing card lined up for Best in the World. I highly recommend you get it.
Ring of Honor just keeps topping themselves, don't they?
They really do, especially with their pay-per-views. The weekly show, a lot of times just kind of almost to hype the pay-per-views.
Yeah.
But I mean, they always have at least one or two good matches in there. And it's only an hour show. They don't have 2 hours of bloated waste of time filler like other promotions do. They
$1 billion budget.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that's Ring of Honor for this week. And next, we're going to move on to Impact.
Impact.
All right, TNA Impact from Atlanta, GA. Starts off with some recaps from last week. Then the GM, Hulk Hogan, comes out and he addresses the thing with Brooke a little bit. Says he told her to stay home this week. Then he talks, about Bound for Glory series, and then has last year's winner, Jeff Hardy, come out. Hardy gets in automatically to this year's tournament, I guess, because he won last year. And, of course, Taz is bitching about that. But Hardy says he's tired of hammers and the aces and eights. He says he's going to win it again this year and then regain the title. Out comes Bobby Roode.
Yes.
And, yeah. Talks about being the longest reigning champ in TNA history and being the first ever Bound for Glory series winner. And Hogan says next week is open fight night and the fans decide who gets to do the first call out. And Roode says that's perfect because next week he's going to call out Hardy and kick his ass.
I mean, let's be honest here. From a wrestling and a talking and pretty much the total package standpoint, Jeff Hardy can't hold Bobby Roode's jock.
No, I think all around total package, I think Bobby Roode probably the best guy in TNA.
Oh, easily.
As far as having everything. I mean, there's guys that might be a notch above him, as far as on the mat.
Yeah.
But as far as having it all and just that it factor,
he's the man.
Yeah, nobody's better than Bobby Roode, and really in TNA or anywhere, in my opinion. But I'm a Bobby Roode mark, I admit it. So Hardy says, go ahead and do it now, and out come the Aces. Bully asks why everyone is so mad at each other here, and Bully asks, does it really matter because the winner has to face him and he'll, beat whoever it is anyway. And then he asks why the Aces and Eights are not in the Bound for Glory series. And then Hogan says, okay, look, y'all get one spot, but y'all have to have a battle royal amongst yourselves to decide who that person's going to be. So he's kind of pitting them against each other, trying to cause some dissension there, I'm sure. Then Bully says, whoever wins between those two guys, it doesn't matter because that winner will be a target. And they're, both Hardy and Roode are targets right now. The Aces jump them, but Roode and Hardy quickly clear the ring. Then Roode hits Hardy with a cheap shot and takes off. Mike Tenay says tonight Sting will address his future, and we'll get a rematch between Kurt Angle and AJ Styles. Then Bad Influence is backstage. Daniels is playing a piano, tinkering around on a piano. And they
Men of many trades.
Yeah.
They can do it all.
They talk about Bound for Glory series, and they talk about Storm and Gunner a little bit there. And that's the next match we're going to have. It's a Bound for Glory series qualifier, Bad Influence versus the champs, Storm and Gunner.
This is a good match.
Good fast-paced match. The crowd was into it. Storm is about to hit the last call on Daniels, and Daniels hits him with one of the belts. No, he's about to hit the last call on Kazarian, my bad. And Daniels hits him with one of the belts, and Kazarian rolls him up for the pin. So both members of Bad Influence are in the BFGS now. Then we see Crimson backstage, and they ask him what he's doing there, and he says, what's it been, about 12 months since I've been here? He said, I'm not here. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but Velvet is backstage looking fine as hell.
God.
And she has an envelope in her hand and says it's a present for Mickie James, and she's going to love it. Yeah. Then another Bound for Glory series qualifier. Most of the matches on this show were qualifiers. Crimson versus Joseph Park. Crimson gets on the mic, talks about his undefeated streak a while back, and then Crimson dominates the entire match and looks like he's going to win, but then he charges at Park, and Park moves. Crimson hits the turnbuckle really hard, and Park rolls him up for the pin. Then Mickie James is backstage doing her makeup and wondering what Velvet could have for her, and says, it's so sweet of her to get her a present, whatever. And then out comes Velvet, And good Lord, I mean, I didn't think she'd get any hotter, but I think she did. Yeah. And I've always loved the little bikini bottoms with the fishnets that she wears, but I think the black stretch pants might have been hotter. Man, when she went between the ropes to get in the ring, I about died.
I'm getting lightheaded just talking about it.
Yeah, I about lost it. So she wants to clear the air with Mickey, she says, and she has a present for her in an envelope. Mickey comes out and says she's overwhelmed, and Mickey should be getting Velvet a present, and Velvet says in the envelope is her medical clearance, so no more excuses. She wants a rematch. Mickey says, this is signed yesterday, but it looks to me like today your knee is still hurt, and takes her knee out, and so that just about completes the Mickey heel turn, I think. And she puts her in a very painful looking leg lock after taking the knee out. So Mickey's back to being a bad girl.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Then Matt Morgan backstage bitching.
Is this all this guy does?
That's all he does is whine and cry. Yeah. If they're trying to get him over, that's not going to work.
Well, I mean, he's not like a spring chicken anymore. I mean, the guy.
Now he's been around for at least 10 years, I'd say.
Yeah.
Then we have a four-way match. Another qualifier. Matt Morgan versus Rob Terry versus Magnus versus Kenny King. This was a good match. Magnus gets the pin on King. So, I was kind of surprised by that, really. I mean, not real surprised because they had kind of been trying to push Magnus, but I kind of thought Morgan might take it there. Then we see Eric Young backstage. Haven't seen Eric Young in a while. We see another spot hyping Rampage Jackson, and then a recap of Sting and Bully Ray from Slammiversary. Sting comes out to a huge pop, of course, in Atlanta.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Talks about, the TNA Hall of Fame, and, says a lot has happened in the last year since he was inducted. He talks about losing to Bully. And some people are, probably think this might be his retirement speech.
All those go around.
Yeah. He talks about, not being able to, wrestle for the title anymore. And he says, but, the one thing that really bothers him about Slammiversary, and he has a really legitimate point, is the fact that, after having to fight off all the aces and eights, and taking 3 pile drivers from Bully and getting ganged up on, not one single person from the back came out and tried to help him.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him for being a little bit pissed about that. Because Sting not one to really ask for help. I mean,
he didn't bitch and moan and whine.
Yeah, he wasn't crying. He was just saying, hey, kind of screw y'all.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, save the company here, and y'all can't even give me a hand against a whole gang of guys.
Thugs.
But he even said, but hey, that's all right. He talks about the aces and eights being like a family, and then even makes a Godfather reference here, and it's like, oh, light bulb goes on. Talks about creating his own family, his own mafia, a new main event mafia, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of marked out for that because I liked the main event mafia. I thought it was a cool concept.
Good name.
Yeah, a cool name. Obviously, it's going to be almost entirely different guys this time.
Younger guys, we hope.
Yeah, probably. He might throw Kurt Angle back in there again. They were both members. But, you're not going to have Kevin Nash and Steiner.
Booker T.
Yeah, Booker T. They're all no longer with the company. It crossed my mind he could maybe try and recruit Jeff Jarrett.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool. If they're going to go the whole former world champions route again. But, who knows? But I'm very interested to see who he puts in this group in the upcoming weeks. So, then we have another Bound for Glory Series qualifier, Eric Young with the wife, ODB, fighting Austin Aries. And, of course, before the match, they run a spot for Eric Young's show on Animal Planet. he just basically goes around and fishes and stuff. I don't really, you know. It's a decent match. ODB plays with Young a little bit during the middle of the match. You know, comes in like, you know, just makes out with him, whatever. Aries ends up winning with the Brain Buster here, so he's in the Bound for Glory series. Then we see Aces and Eights backstage, and Doc doesn't seem real thrilled about something. It seems like they've already predetermined who's going to get that spot in the Bound for Glory series, and Doc didn't seem real thrilled about it. Chris Sabin talking about his injury. It's like, okay, I like Sabin. I like Sabin a lot, and I'm sure this isn't his doing, but okay, move on, drop it.
It was a year ago.
We get it. You were hurt, and you made a courageous comeback. That's great, but you've been talking about it for a month now. It's okay. You're back. You're the X Division champion. Yeah. Let's move on. The Aces and Eights Battle Royal is next, and you got Briscoe, Bischoff, Nux, Devon, and Anderson and Doc. Now, Briscoe, Bischoff, Nux, and Devon all stick to the plan and basically eliminate themselves, or just let Anderson eliminate them, because it's been, you know, voted on that he's going to get the spot in Bound for Glory series. And then Doc acts like he's going to go over, but then he refuses and starts beating the crap out of Anderson. Anderson ends up eliminating him anyway. And, of course, they're all bickering as they head towards the back. Then we see Rampage Jackson talking to Angle backstage, kind of like, you know, what'd you mean last week by, you know, I wasn't ready for whatever. He's like, well, you know, I didn't mean any offense by it, but, you know, you stepped into my world. He's like, if I stepped into your world in MMA, I would have to work my way up to you. Yeah. You know, he said, that's all I meant by it. And they shook hands and went their own ways there. Then we see the Aces backstage still kind of arguing with each other, and, you know, Anderson and Doc are at each other's throats. And Bully's like, you know, what the hell was that? You should have stuck to the plan. And he said, you know, I appreciate the drive and the desire and everything. I can appreciate that. You know, you stepped up, but, you know, let's step up, you know, against our enemies here, not each other. And Doc says tonight he wants to take out AJ Styles. And, of course, Bully says, well, you know, get the job done. Then the main event, and this is also a Bound for Glory Series qualifier, AJ Styles versus Kurt Angle, a rematch from Slammiversary. Excellent match here, of course. Not quite up there with the one from Slammiversary, but it was close. Yeah. Out come the Aces and Eights, of course. And AJ gets a quick roll-up pin on Angle. And then after the match, the Aces assault Angle. But out comes Rampage Jackson, of all people, to make the save.
Wasn't a bad show.
No, not a bad show at all. I think, you know, over the last, you know, few months, TNA's really been heading in the right direction. You know, we both really enjoyed Slammiversary, and I just hope they keep it up, because it's...
Hey, they're going in new, different directions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're trying something different, rather than the same old shit over and over again, which is exciting.
It really is, and I've been enjoying it a lot, actually more than I've enjoyed WWE in a long time. But speaking of WWE, next up is SmackDown. All right, SmackDown from Greensboro, North Carolina, and you know, Greensboro's some of the most insane wrestling fans in the world. We're going to, you know, kind of try and keep it quick here with SmackDown. DB comes out, Daniel Bryan, and of course the yes chants are just deafening. This guy's over like crazy. He mentions winning the world title and then losing it in 18 seconds.
Bullshit.
Yeah, talks about tagging with Kane, and, you know, says Hell No is one of the best teams in history, and asks Kane to come out. He says, you know, they need to get it all out in the open and clear the air. And Bryan says, you know, they've been an awesome team, but they won't be partners at Payback. And when he wins the tag titles with Randy, they won't be teaming anymore. he says it's going to be Team RK No. And Kane says that makes him so, what makes him so sure him and Randy are going to win. He said, you and Randy don't even like each other. And then, Daniel Bryan starts with his weak link crap again. And Kane goes to choke slam him, but out comes Orton and stops him. He says, and he's only stopping him because he needs Daniel Bryan at 100% when they face the Shield. Kane tells Orton to stay out of it. Then the Shield pops up on the screen, mocking all three of them, and they just stand in the ring bickering with each other. So, start the show off. We got 12 minutes of pointless nonsense. Yeah. Then we get a match between Sheamus and Cesaro. And it's interesting to note here because it kind of, the picture changes a little bit here when we get to Raw. But I actually wrote down in my comments here that Cesaro might as well pack it up and go back to Ring of Honor because he's officially become a jobber to the stars in WWE. They've already ruined and buried him.
Don't lose hope yet.
Yeah. I may have been a little hasty there. Anyway, Sandow interrupts before the match starts, and he insults Sheamus a little bit. Then we get the match. Sheamus wins with the bro kick, and that's why I made the comment that I did. Sandow attacks him at the top of the ramp after the match, though. That was kind of funny. Then another spot for this Wyatt family. CM Punk video. And then we see Teddy backstage on the phone doing another Hardy's commercial.
Oh my God.
Yeah. AJ and Big E and Ziggler come up, and Ziggler's bitching about having to compete tonight. And then Big E steals Teddy's burger. A commercial is all it was. Khali, the Great Khali versus Heath Slater is next, and Slater actually gets a win here.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
first time in 3 years.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it, man. And 3MB was thrilled. You could tell they were jumping up and down, celebrating afterwards. Then we get a tag match: Del Rio with Chris Jericho versus Ziggler and Big E. A decent match here. Ziggler looks really sharp in his first match back from the concussion. Del Rio wins it with a quick roll-up, though. And I have to say, it seems a ton of matches are ending that way lately.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot. I mean, and not just in WWE, everywhere. It's just a lot of quick roll-up matches. Nothing wrong with it. Just seems like it's being overdone a little bit as of late. And let's see, after Payback, they really need to put some different opponents in front of Ziggler, I think.
Yeah.
But that was assuming he was going to retain the title.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. Then we get more recaps. Caitlin's backstage looking distraught. She's been a drama queen since the incident with Big E. Then Jericho backstage with Renee Young talking about facing Punk, and then Heyman comes up and interrupts, wishes Jericho luck, of course sarcastically. Then goes on a spiel. Jericho pushes the mic into his face. That was kind of funny. Looked like he might have smacked him in the teeth. Then we get a women's match, Oksana versus Kaitlyn. Kaitlyn was very aggressive here, attacks Oksana before the bell, and even hits the ref. It's over before it starts, didn't even get a match here. Then a godforsaken 6-minute video package hyping Cena and Ryback at Payback. 6 minutes. I mean, 2 minutes okay, but 6 minutes? Then more recaps. And then Cole and JBL plugging Hardy's once again.
God.
Another commercial. Yeah, another commercial within the show. This is just getting absurd. Then we get to Curtis Axel versus Wade Barrett. Barrett gets on the mic and suggests that they don't wrestle. It would make more sense to wait for Sunday to not risk an injury to anybody or anything. Of course, out comes The Miz, and lamely attempts to insult the other two. I mean, his insults are like a 10-year-old's, and just so smug the way he comes across. He didn't really make himself look good there. So he goads them into going through with the match. Axel gets the win. Then Miz comes in and hits him with the skull-crushing finale. And yet another spot for the Wyatt family. By the time they debut, I'm going to be sick of them already. Then Hell No and Orton, or is it RK No and Kane, either way you want to look at it, versus The Shield. A decent match, really, but you know, I gotta say, I'm tired of seeing these 6 guys wrestle each other.
Yeah.
It's time to
go off and do the thing.
Give the Shield some new opponents.
But the Shield did go down for the first
time. For the very first time ever in a 6-man situation, the Shield loses. And not by DQ or countout, they got pinned.
That's an interesting dynamic to do right before pay-per-view, though, don't you think?
Yeah.
When they're all title holders?
Yeah. And then, you know, Kane and Daniel Bryan embrace after the match, and as all 3 guys celebrate, and you know, everything seems cool between Hell No for now. But that's a wrap for SmackDown, and next we're going to move on to Monday Night Raw. Oh, that's right. Payback first. My bad. I forgot all about Payback.
Don't forget about Payback.
All right. Payback it is.
All right. Now we go to Payback from Chicago, Illinois. Big pay-per-view here. We start off with a pre-show match of Damian Sandow versus Sheamus, which these 2 guys have now been reduced to the pre-show match.
Which, you know, Sheamus, I'm not a Sheamus hater, but, you know, I don't really care about Sheamus, but man, I think Sandow is just being wasted. I think he's a waste. Tons of potential.
Yeah, through no fault of his own, but he's a waste now.
Yeah.
So that's that. Then we get the first match of the night, which is a triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship between Wade Barrett, the champion, versus Miz versus Curtis Axel. And I must say, this is a very good opening match. Real hot crowd, and Curtis Axel gets the win to become the Intercontinental Champion.
Which I kind of thought was the way it was going to go, honestly. And I'm okay with that. I'm just glad the Miz didn't win.
The Miz had Wade Barrett in the figure 4. Wade Barrett's shoulders were on the mat. Curtis Axel pins him for the 1-2-3. But wouldn't that be a pin if his shoulders were on the mat in the figure 4 to begin with?
Well, yeah. I mean,
for the Miz, I mean.
Right. But, you know.
But new champion.
Because, you know, back in the old days, like, especially like with some Ric Flair matches, I remember, you know, Tommy Young. Tommy Young, my all-time favorite ref. Most of y'all probably don't remember Tommy Young. But, I mean, it might seem funny to some of y'all to have a favorite ref, but, I mean, they're an important part of the show. They really are. And they don't really get the respect and appreciation that they deserve. You know, they're out there
traveling, doing all the stuff the rest of us do.
They're out there putting it all on the line every night too, and taking bumps and everything else. But yeah, Tommy Young was my all-time favorite ref, still is. And Tommy Young would do that, like when Flair would have somebody in the figure 4 and he would like lay back and relax, or you know, put more tension on the lock. Yeah. Tommy would start a 3 count, and Flair would have to sit up real quick. Did it all the time. Yeah. That was a regular thing, and. Yeah.
Pretty good match here.
And you know, one other thing, how kind of nice and appropriate that
Father's Day.
Yeah. You know, Curtis Axel, you know, wins the title that really, I think, I mean, to me, of course, Kurt Hennig was also a world champion in the AWA, and he was a tag team champion at times, but you know, he's just like, of course, Mr. Perfect, but he was the perfect Intercontinental Champion. He's like the prototype for what an Intercontinental Champion should be, and brought so much prestige to that belt, in my opinion.
And put Bret Hart over as a singles superstar.
That's right. Yeah, he really helped, you know, propel Bret Hart to that next level as a singles wrestler. And you know, Bret Hart will tell you the same thing. You know, there's very few guys ever in the ring better than Kurt.
Yeah.
I mean,
he'd rather work with us.
you could tell that Brett just really, really loved Kurt and loved working with him, and he's very missed. But yeah, I just kind of had to point that out.
Then we have a Divas Championship match. AJ Lee defeats Caitlyn. And actually, I was rather shocked by this. This actually wasn't a bad match.
Yeah, I mean, but they're again predictable.
Yeah,
I mean, it was so obvious AJ was going to take the title.
Yeah, with the Black Widow.
And to me, the whole Black Widow submission is so stupid because all you got to do is fall on the person that's got it on you to break the hold, or walk over to the ropes because you're on your feet. I mean, it's really, it looks okay, but it doesn't make sense. The hold just, like I said, all you have to do is just jump in the air and fall back, and the hold's broken.
Yeah.
Done.
Then we have the United States Championship match, Dean Ambrose versus Kane, and this match really wasn't good, really wasn't bad.
No, it wasn't bad. It was just kind of there.
And it's like a DQ finish. Ambrose wins, but it's just like, come on, Kane, can you not put him over? I mean, you know what I mean?
Which
a DQ finish, that makes no sense. It's not even a feud or anything here.
Yeah, and maybe that wasn't Kane's call. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a title match on a pay-per-view should never end in count out or DQ.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, your fans are paying
big bucks
to see a definite winner here.
Yeah.
And to sell them a DQ or a count is just a rip-off, in my opinion.
So that match ends with the count out. Then we get the video package that really caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Rob Van Dam is returning to Money in the Bank in Philadelphia.
And you know, I think part of it could be that I don't read online wrestling rumors anymore. I stopped doing that because, you know, it just, you know, it ruins the surprise.
Yeah.
And that's part of the cool thing about wrestling is, of course, and you don't get many surprises anymore because everything's so predictable. Even when you don't read the rumors, you know, you see a lot of stuff coming. But this you know, just came out of left field. I had no idea this was happening. And honestly, when it first started running the package, I even said, I was like, nah, he's not coming back. They're probably just selling a new DVD of his or something.
Yeah.
But no, he's coming back.
Yeah. And in the original home of ECW, Philadelphia.
That's
where
right.
His pay-per-view is going to be. So
Which
drives me nuts.
Which, you know, you seem a little more excited about it than I do. It's nothing against RVD. First of all, he's not really young anymore. He's actually, you know, approaching the twilight of his career. The last couple times I saw him wrestle, he didn't look very good. But, you know, maybe he's been working out and getting the ring rust off and hopefully back in shape and ring shape, and he'll come back and wow us again, man.
I'd say WWE wouldn't give him a contract if he wasn't
probably not.
near 100%.
And hopefully he won't screw up with any, you know, drug arrests or anything this time around. And, you know, it also depends on who they put him with. He could have like a dynamite feud with, you know, a guy like Jericho or Punk. We'll just have to wait.
Yeah.
We'll just have to wait and see where it goes. But it could be interesting.
And speaking of surprises, next we have the World Heavyweight Championship match between Alberto Del Rio and Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
Good match, when you say.
Yeah.
But
this one, actually, this was one that actually
like,
I was
what?
kind of shocked that they already had Ziggler drop the belt. I mean, this is his first title defense on that I can think of.
Yeah.
And he drops the belt in his first defense. At the very least, his first defense on pay-per-view.
And he kicked his head off, Del Rio.
Yeah. And as much as I didn't like it, and I wish Ziggler had had a more substantial title reign, you know, after I cooled down about it, it does kind of make sense because they did the double turn here. They turned Del Rio heel at the same time, making Ziggler sympathetic and turning him into the babyface because of the way that Del Rio just, you know, brutally kicked him in the head over and over and over again. So it makes sense in that aspect that, you know, you put the belt on the heel and have the babyface chase him.
Yeah.
So I'm upset that his title reign wasn't longer, but, you know, it does kind of make sense. So we'll just see, and hopefully he will regain the belt from Del Rio and get his vengeance and then have a good long run with the belt.
Next we have CM Punk versus Chris Jericho, and CM Punk's return after 2 months of being off WWE programming to his hometown of Chicago, Illinois, and boy, let me tell you what, these two guys brought it and tore the house down.
Yeah, really, really good match.
I mean, this is one of those moments, I know we talk negatively about WWE and a lot of the directions that they're going in, but this is one of those moments where we're glad that we stay tuned for a match like this.
Yeah, I mean, they still have their moments, and this was one of them, like you said. Really, I mean, what was it, about a 22-minute match?
Yeah, 22, 23-minute match. I mean, gosh.
And it wasn't boring at all. You weren't waiting for it to be over. You were almost wishing it would go on longer.
Yeah. Punk wins with the 2 go-to-sleeps to Jericho, which is pretty cool. But this is like Styles and Angle at its anniversary.
Right.
God, it could have gone on another 10, 15 minutes and we wouldn't have minded.
Yeah.
Just great. Really good stuff here. Then the pay-per-view kind of just, boy, they were really getting some steam. And then this tag team match between Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns was just kind of I don't know, not much here.
Yeah.
We've just seen them too much. We see these guys too much.
And
Raw and SmackDown, just too much.
Yeah, and against each other too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because we like the Shield.
Yeah.
And we love Daniel Bryan. He loves Orton.
Yeah.
But yeah, just now that this pay-per-view is over with, they really, really need to put some different people in the mix here with the Shield.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand long-running feuds. I mean, feuds used to run for years.
Hey.
But they didn't wrestle each other twice a week on TV. You know, they made you wait for a special event or something. You weren't seeing, Barry Windham wrestle Ric Flair twice a week on TV.
Yeah.
Maybe once a month. But
and here's another thing: 2 guys that could face the Shield, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. If you hadn't made them absolute clowns, Heath Slater and Drew McIntyre, kind of a 3-on-3, but two out of the 3. But I forget that.
Yeah, a Shield 3MB feud would be cool.
But you've ruined them now. It's over. When you say it's too late.
Probably, yeah. Because everybody just sees 3MB as clowns now.
Yeah. And then I had so much excitement for this pay-per-view, but this main event, this 3 stages of hell match, just...
And we knew it was going to be a letdown, but,
there's still that glimmer of hope
yeah,
that we always have.
But it's like, sometimes there's that one match that saves an entire show. Well, this match almost ruined an entire show. It really did. And not just because of the outcome. The outcome we hate, but it was also the way it happened. Yeah. It was so, not just predictable. I mean, it was very predictable, and he can attest to this. I predicted it down to a T before the match. I named who was going to win, what falls, and then I named how it was going to end. And that's exactly what happened. And wrestling shouldn't be that way. But
Ryback gets the first one in the lumberjack match. Then Cena puts him to the table in the tables match, and then
I mean,
through an ambulance.
Yeah, through the roof of an ambulance. Come on now. I mean, yeah, Ryback's a big guy, but he's not going to cave in the top of an ambulance. And it was just like cutting a perfect square, and he just fell right through effortlessly. I mean, it's like, man, really? Come on now. It's now. Wrestling does things all the time that kind of insult the intelligence of the fans. But this was just above and beyond. WWE
just shot Ryback in the face, more or less.
I mean, yeah, he's over. Yeah,
he's
you can't.
done.
Yeah, you can't take him seriously as a monster anymore. What is it? 5 pay-per-views now that he's lost on?
7 or 8, I think.
Is it more like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have him job out to Cena.
7. Yeah.
It just...
No, 8. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So it's not just that Cena won. We hate the fact that Cena won. I kind of figured he would, though. But it's just the way the whole match went down. It was just... And it wasn't even well done. It was just...
It's cartoonish.
Yeah, and it was just stupid and boring, and it just didn't make any sense. I don't know. But the rest of the show wasn't bad, but yeah, the main event just about ruined it for me.
And next we have Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, next we move on to Raw, for real this time.
Monday Night Raw.
Alright, we got Raw live June 17th, 2013 from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And we start off with Del Rio cutting a heel promo in the ring with Ricardo about how Americans are cowardly pigs.
Yeah.
And CM Punk and Paul Heyman come out, and CM Punk more or less talks about how Alberto Del Rio is the one that dropped the title to Punk to start his 434-day title reign. So they're kind of going back and forth here. What do you think of this?
Well, you know, it not bad, and I mean, honestly, I was buying Del Rio as a face.
I like him as a heel.
I think he is better as a heel, but they just turned him babyface not even 6 months ago.
Yeah.
It seems a little premature, but, you know, maybe, like I said, maybe they just feel like they don't have enough top quality heels in the company right now, which could be true. And he is good as a heel, but I don't know. Not bad. And, you know,
Vicky comes out and announces Del Rio's going to go one-on-one with Punk as the main event tonight on Raw, which...
Right.
You know,
well, but here's a question that ran across my mind, and this is kind of a side note, but with Del Rio being heel now, who is going to be the target for Dutch Mantel and his guys?
Yeah.
Because now Del Rio, the Mexican, is a bad guy like they are. So unless they're going to have a heel versus heel kind of thing, you got to find somebody else for them to pick on. You know, maybe Sin Cara or somebody like that, unless Rey Mysterio is planning on coming back. That could work.
Yeah, that could work. Oh, yeah.
But
Rey Mysterio and Del Rio feud, good versus bad.
They actually had a feud already.
Yeah, that's right.
Back.
Yeah, they did. You're right. Yeah.
Which, you know, wasn't bad at all. But yeah, Del Rio whipped his ass. But
well, that's when they were shoving Del Rio down our throats.
Right. But, you know, another thing I have to say that it's amazing to me how easily the WWE Universe is manipulated into just cheering and booing whoever they're told to cheer and boo for. Because I never fell into that trap. When I was a kid, and still to this day, I like who I like. And I don't care if they're a heel or a face. It doesn't matter to me. Like, I liked the Road Warriors, and it didn't matter if they were the bad guys or the good guys. I liked the Road Warriors, and I cheered for the Road Warriors, you know, no matter what they did. You know, even when they turned on Dusty, turned on Sting, beat the snot out of the Midnight Express, I thought it was great. I loved it because it was the Road Warriors doing it, and I didn't like Dusty anyway, so that was really funny. But yeah, I always just liked who I liked, and it didn't matter which way they went as far as heel or face. I mean, I don't know. But anyway.
Then we have Vicky talking about how she's going to have a big surprise for Stephanie and Vince and Triple H. Who cares? Then we're getting the announcement.
Probably a Hardee's burger.
Yeah, or Wendy's. Then we have the announcement for Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton in a singles match tonight, with the fans get to choose the stipulation of no DQ, 2 out of 3 falls. What was the other one? No count out. Yeah, so that's coming up. Then we see Punk and Heyman backstage. Punk talking about how he's not Curtis Axel, he's not Brock Lesnar, and he doesn't need Paul Heyman to win. He can do it on his own, which I kind of sensed that this was coming.
Yeah.
This breakup from these two.
I thought it a little bit before the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But then especially after the pay-per-view, I was like, he's going to dump Heyman real soon. And sure enough, the very next night he does.
Yeah.
But he almost has to make that face turn that they're obviously doing with him.
Yeah.
Which, you know, Punk's a great heel, but he's also a good face, and he's been heel for quite some time now. I mean, a number of years, really.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he was a heel before the NXT thing.
Yeah.
And that's been a few years.
Yeah.
At least a couple years.
Yeah.
The older I get, the faster time goes by, and I have trouble keeping up with how long it's actually been. But I know it's been at least 3 years that he's been a heel.
He was face, I guess, crowd made at the beginning of last year, but that's because it was such a breath of fresh air after the promo.
Well, yeah, I kind of forgot that gap where he did. He was kind of a face there.
That was crowd made.
Yeah.
That wasn't company made. Then, oh my God.
Yeah, when he did that, when he cut that promo and then left with the belt and stuff, I kind of almost forgot about him being face there for a little while.
He's a natural heel.
He is, but he's so respected that it's hard not to cheer for him.
Like Stone Cold was.
Yeah, even when he was a heel, half the crowd was still cheering for him.
Yeah. Then we get some mixed emotions for me. We get Wade Barrett versus the return of Christian, which was exciting. But now it's official, everybody. Wade Barrett is officially just a jobber.
And nothing against Christian. I don't hate Christian, but I've never been a big Christian fan. To me, he's just... He's like vanilla. He's not bad, but he's not great. He's good.
Yeah.
But nothing special, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. A lot of people do think, he's got something, but I just never saw it. The whole Captain Charisma thing, and
see, I like Christian on the other hand.
And like I said, I don't dislike him. And he's made me chuckle many a times, but I never saw him as a main eventer. I guess that's the main thing. I never saw him as a main eventer, as a world champion, intercontinental champion, sure, but I just never saw him in that top tier personally.
So Christian gets the win there in his return. Then we get Sheamus versus Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow, which is just like, I don't know what they're doing with these three guys. Do you?
Who knows, man? They don't seem to know from week to week.
At least Rhodes and Sandow got the win here in this handicap match, which was okay.
Well, if they didn't, that'd be pathetic.
Yeah, but don't put anything past WWE
I know.
these days. Then we have Mark Henry is going to come up pretty soon here with an announcement, and a lot of people they're kind of advertising.
Could be his retirement speech, yeah.
Which I kind of feel hook, line, and sinker for that a little bit. But
we'll get to that. But he's been around so long and a big guy. Why? It made sense.
And then we have Triple H backstage with Brad Maddox and Vicky again, talking about, she's bragging on bringing Christian back, and Triple H.
Of course, they both take the credit.
Triple H is like, well, he's been cleared for a month and a half. You're just now getting around to bringing him back. And then he brings up Rob Van Dam, and they both take credit for that. And Triple H says, well, it was he who made the deal with RVD over the phone, so y'all can stop that too. And then he kind of makes that joke towards 3MB and says, yeah, but you did book 3MB tonight. What a stroke of genius move. Then we get more Kane and Daniel Bryan backstage, and I really have to talk anymore about these guys.
No.
Okay. Then we get the no DQ match with Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan, which this match never really got off the ground either. It was kind of slow paced. Orton did get the kendo stick out and get a few good shots in. But the next thing you know, Orton's backdropping Daniel Bryan onto the barricade outside the ring, and the match is stopped. The doctor comes out, and Daniel Bryan's hurt, and then that's the end of that match.
Yeah, so much for no DQ.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, well, that was the end of that.
It's not a DQ, but a stoppage, but
yeah,
still, it's like, come on.
Yeah. And then we go with a recap of Caitlyn crying after a loss to AJ at Payback and blah, 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 blah. And AJ comes out with the belt. Then Stephanie McMahon comes out. And then they go back and forth with some nonsense. And then Caitlyn and the measly 4 or 5, however many divas there are on the roster, come out to stand their ground at the top of the ramp. And then Stephanie walks out. I'm going to give you a pass this time, but don't interrupt me again. And it's just like, next. God, just... At least TNA is doing something with their women and having angles and stuff that people care about, but I don't.
Well, and Stephanie should be seen and not heard.
Yeah. And then we have the rematch for the U.S. title, Kane and Dean Ambrose, which the Shield quickly interferes, and Kane gets the win via disqualification, which that's kind of the end of that, right? That's the end of that. And then Reigns takes out Kane with a pretty good spear, and then they hit the triple powerbomb on Kane, the Shield does. Then we go to more backstage stuff with Vicky and Brad Maddox, and then Vince walks up and says how he likes the Shield. He's ruthless, and they're ruthless, and blah 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 blah, and a bunch of shit there. And then he says, "I never liked that Halloween mask freak cane anyway." Vince McMahon did. Then we get more vignettes for the Bray and Wyatt family and all that kind of nonsense. Then something that really was out of nowhere. Zeb Coulter coming out, introducing his new client, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's Antonio Cesaro. What do you say of this?
I like it. I think it's a good move, especially for Cesaro. Hopefully now he'll be a serious character. No more of this yodeling crap.
Yeah.
No more jobbing to The Miz, Kofi Kingston, R-Truth. Because Cesaro's better than that.
Yeah.
And, but if you go back a week or so, you remember Coulter came out and did commentary during a Cesaro match.
Mm-hmm.
And he had nothing but glowing reviews for the guy.
Yeah.
So I guess that was kind of a hint towards what was about to happen. And I don't know how long Swagger's going to be gone, but
Must be a long time if they're already putting
I was wondering, does this mean Swagger's going to be gone for a long time, or are they going to be a tag team? Is he starting a stable, or it could just be Cesaro and Dutch? But either way, I think it's a great move, especially for Cesaro. Hopefully, this will get him to that next level.
Cesaro has a match with Regal. Cesaro beats Regal. Then they pull out the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, throw it over top of
he says,
Regal.
"We the people."
Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
I am too. I really am. I'm really, really happy for Cesaro because we like Cesaro a lot. And I want to see him succeed. So maybe this will get him over that hump, and maybe this can make some people forget that he was a jobber the whole time he was U.S. champion.
You got to think of this. Maybe Dutch Mantel went and talked to somebody and said, "Listen,
Hey, this guy's got something, man.
Yeah.
Let me work with him."
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
Then we have a Cena promo out in the middle of the ring where all he does basically is just say the champ is here over and over and over, and it's just like, here we go again. He shows signs of promise, but then more of this shit. So then Mark Henry comes out, and everybody's expecting the big retirement speech, and everybody's chanting "sexual chocolate," which I found to be hilarious.
Sexual chocolate.
So Cena steps out of the ring to give Mark Henry his time in the spotlight here since he's retiring. And Mark Henry's he's teary-eyed, he's tearing up, and he's talking about all the times on the road and how many years he's been in the business, and your typical retirement speech. And then Cena comes into the ring and is holding up the belt with Mark Henry, and then they go to embrace each other for a hug, and then Mark Henry picks up Cena, World's Strongest Slam, puts Cena on his ass.
Yeah.
Which I felt hook, line, and sinker. I did not see it coming at all. And that crowd was just like, And Mark Henry stands over him and says, "I got a lot left in the tank, and I want that championship," basically. Yeah. And I thought that was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, it couldn't happen to a better guy than Cena.
Yeah. So basically, I think Vince, a little bit later on in the night, announced that was going to be the championship match at Money in the Bank. Mark Henry versus John Cena for the WWE title, unless they change it or tweak it.
Cena will probably,
throw him through the roof or something.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Pick up an army tank and crush him with it or something.
And then we get the classic at the top of the ramp, "That's what I do." As he briskly throws his jacket over his shoulder after he ripped it off. Then we have Heath Slater versus Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho gets the win. I mean, not much going on there. 3B tries to get an interference. Then we have Sin Cara versus Curtis Axel, which was another... it was okay. It was just a couple minutes, not much there. Curtis Axel gets the win. And then we have CM Punk versus Alberto Del Rio in the main event of Raw. What did you think of this match?
It
was kind of slow, never really got off the ground.
Yeah. And like Del Rio or not, the guy can wrestle.
Yeah.
It wasn't nothing special, but... Punk doesn't really look like he's, got too much ring rust or anything.
No, he looks great,
entertaining, I guess.
Ziggler attacks Del Rio while he's outside the ring with a hellacious just jump off the top ramp onto Del Rio. They scuffle and they fight around to the backstage area, and Punk's just kind of like in the ring, like, not my problem.
Yeah.
And then Brock Lesnar's music hits, and out comes Brock Lesnar.
Here comes the pain.
And this crowd, once again, like earlier, like, you know, and so Lesnar circles the ring, just kind of, you know, getting hyped like he does. Then he gets into the ring, grabs the mic like he's going to talk on it, throws it down, picks up Punk, F5. Punk's a broken mess laying there in the middle of the ring, and Brock Lesnar leaves him. And that's the end of Raw, which I thought, big surprise and pretty good ending.
Yeah, a good way to end the show, and a good way to help the face turn of Punk.
Yeah.
You know, we both kind of figured, I remember us talking about on the show at least a month ago, we figured that a Punk Lesnar feud was somewhere in the future, somewhere down the road.
I think it could be good.
It could be.
Yeah.
It really could be. You know, especially with the Heyman factor.
Now, I thought Heyman was going to come out and screw Punk somehow, but this is kind of the same difference. Punk, Heyman's going to be behind it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Of course he did. And, you know, there again, you get heat for Lesnar, and you get, you know, the whole babyface thing with Punk and Ziggler. Ziggler chasing Del Rio now, like I said. So, you know.
And Punk's over as can be, but love him or hate him about Brock Lesnar, he means interest, and he is a draw, and people are tuned in when he's on their screens. I mean, let's be honest, for the most part.
I mean, he's a big name.
Yeah.
Like him or not.
Yeah.
But I think that pretty much does it for Raw. And now we move on to This Week in Wrestling History. I'm going to make it real fast, but here we go.
This week in wrestling history.
Okay, just real quick one here. Nothing major. I have a major one next week, and if you stop and think about it, you'll know what it is. And I almost didn't touch on it, but I'm going to try and do it in a different way. But next week, a very special one. But this week, just real quick, you know, a few years back, in This Week in History, Austin Aries became the first and still to this day only person to ever win the Ring of Honor World Championship for a second time, which I found that interesting because, you know, you stop and think, you guys like Samoa Joe, he had almost, I mean, he held the belt for a better part of 2 years. Well over a year. Nigel McGuinness had a real long reign with the belt. And it says something about the Ring of Honor title that only one guy has ever regained it. And, you know, you have those lengthy reigns. You know, and you're not talking about just, you know, 3, 4, even 5 years here. You're talking about 11-year history now. And you look at any other promotion in the last 11 years, any promotion, and they've had, you know, multiple champions and guys hold the belt 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So I think it really does say something about Ring of Honor and the prestige that they hold their title in. That, you know, it's not like a doorknob where just everybody always gets a turn.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of throw that one out there and just a little food for thought. And that's this week's history lesson and just about this week's show. Before we sign off, though, real quick, I just want to throw out once again, we have the email address set up. It's tpwshow@gmx.com. You know, we really want the show to be interactive with you guys. We want y'all to communicate with us and tell us what you like and what you don't like, what you would like us to discuss, throw out topics for us. Anything. We just really would like the show to be more interactive, and we'd love it if you guys would drop us a line. So let us know what you think. Shoot us a message. And for Mr. Ace Larson, I'm Electric Eric Davidson, and we will see you next time.